Hi guys, this is Jim with Tips and Tricks again, and I've had a few questions about how I get water in the outback. And one of the things that I remember very vividly is the first time I ever drank water from the outback, and believe it or not, in those days it was from Cooper Pedy, and those days Cooper Pedy carted the water up from the Murray, and boy, it was not good stuff. Anyway, I got a dose of the trots out of it, and believe me, it's never been something I ever forgot about. And what I did was I spent a bit of time reading up on the web and so forth about the different bugs and so forth in the water around Australia. And I discovered that we got some quite interesting little bugs in some of our water, and you can end up being quite sick for quite a long time. And some of them, it can be quite difficult to get rid of them out of your stomach after you get them in there. And they do cause you a lot of grief. And getting older now, I don't want to be sick at any time. I haven't got time to waste. I'm too busy getting out and about. Now this year I'm off to Maralinga, and we'll be putting videos up on that later on. But I'm here to talk about what I do when I'm out in the outback. Now, one of the things I've always done, whenever I'm literally not drinking my home water, I use a system which works quite well. I found it's quite successful, and it saved me getting the dose of the trots. Now, the first rule of thumb you put on your head is you do not wash your face with any water other than bottled water or water you've filtered. Number two, you do not brush your teeth with any water other than bottled water or water you've filtered. And just to make certain, when you're cooking, make sure you boil the hell out of any water you haven't filtered. And then you've got a fair chance of killing the bacteria that are in the water. If you don't do that, you'll have a lovely visit to the local hospital or see the Flying Doctor Service, and you'll quite enjoy the treatment. And it's a lot of fun, believe me, I can tell you now. Okay, one of the tricks I do is I have a filter. This filter here is on my input on my water tank. It's a chloride silver filter. It's actually silver which is designed to kill the bacteria. What I actually do, and I'll show you shortly when I fill my tank up, I have a garden hose which goes on here. I connect it up to the house or water system when I'm out on the road. You pull in. I always have the fittings with me, including the screw-on fitting for the tap in case they don't have one on the tap. I collect the hose up off the tap, and this is in town water supply even, doesn't matter where it is in Australia, town water supply, and I pump it through my filter into my tanks. My tanks fill up. When my tank's full, the water flows out of this pipe. This is an overflow. And what I actually do is I've got a connection on here where I can put that into a 20-litre drum or something and fill it up as well. So one of the best tricks that I do quite often is I pull up and I put a hose out and I've got a pump on it. And I can pump water up out of rivers or I can pump out of wells. One of the tricks I do when I'm travelling, and I actually learnt this in the high country. Quite often you pull up on rivers and the water's pretty good. I don't usually have much trouble with the water up here, although with people in recent years making a mess everywhere they go and don't dig their waste products into the ground, it's becoming a problem in a lot of areas because of the number of people that are travelling. I place this little pump. I carry a little pump with me. My little pump is actually one I bought off the web, and I used to use the old shower pumps, and I find that they're not efficient. This little pump is actually one I got off the web, and I can't tell you what the volume is. It's 2.1 amps, and it shoves 360 gallons per hour. And if you want to work that in litres, just multiply it by 4.5, and I can't be bothered on the top of my head. I use this one here, and as you see, what I've done is I've fitted up neat hose fittings on it. It's a bit of a bugger to get it to fit here. I had to put some tape around it and put it in a couple of cable ties to hold it, but now I've got it like that, and I have this hose fitting. Now what I can do is put a garden hose on there, run it into here, pump it up, and that's how I do it. Now, I've done that now for more years than I care to remember, and it is more years than I care to remember since I've had a dose of that lurpin out of the water. But I'll show you inside the truck here, the new changes, not a lot of them, but there are a few changes. And I'll show you what happens when I fill the tank up with water. And you'll be quite interested to know it's a very, very simple system. Even if you just got one of these filters and a pump, you can pump water up out of a well through the filter into your tank, and you won't have any problems then. And you're on a way travelling around Australia, you don't want to spend your time being sick in some blasted hospital or some bush nurse and caring centre for a week or so, being as crook as a dog. What you want to do is you want to be out there enjoying the bush. Okay guys, as I say, what I do is I get the garden hose that I take with me, clip it on, and turn the water on, and away we go. Okay guys, as you see, the water's just coming over now and running out. I always run it so it runs clear. Quite often I put a hose on there, put it in a 20 litre drum or a 10 litre drum and fill it up. The water that's coming out of here has gone through my tank, it's gone through my filter. So therefore this water is clear, there is no lerpin in this water. The 12 volt plugs here, of course, are for the ones to plug it. That's the overflow from the tank that's leaking over there, so the tank is well and truly full. Okay guys, this is my water coming out. Comes out through the clear type, and I can turn the tap on. I use a gate valve, I don't use a ball valve anymore. I find a gate valve is better. And the water comes out just under my stove and so forth, so you can fill it up. Okay guys, for the ones that know me, that's a 50 litre water tank that's on top there, and that's my water I have in the vehicle. I keep it in there, it's over the rear axle, so it keeps the weight forward. And underneath that tank is now a 50 litre commercially made fuel tank. I took the big tank out I made to go for the canning. I don't think there's any point in carrying that much weight now. I only needed a large volume of fuel on that trip, and for the rest of the trips anywhere around Australia you really don't need that much fuel. So okay guys, just remember when you're travelling in the outback, or many of the places in Australia, water is always a problem. Water is always a problem, and many towns don't have the sufficient funding to treat the water correctly, and misfortunately it's not up to the standards you have when you're living in a city. City water's pretty good, basically all the cities in Australia, but don't play games with the water. Filter it. Do not muck around with it. You can put an infrared ultraviolet globe in the tank, and that'll kill bacteria that's in the tank. But the trouble is with the ultraviolet globe, it takes quite a considerable amount of time to kill the bacteria. So you can fill your tank up today and there might be 3 or 4 days and you haven't killed all the bacteria, because the water's just sitting still in the tank and it's not moving, so therefore it's only killed the stuff the light penetrates to. So I have tried that. One of the friends of mine tried that, and we were both drinking on the same water. I was pumping the water into my system, he was pumping his water into his system, and needless to say, we spent 2 days in a town with the little lad not very happy at all because his system didn't work as well as he thought it would. And I did the proverbial "I told you so." So don't be caught. I can tell you now, anybody that's been caught once never gets caught a second time. So that's it for me, and I'll be coming back shortly with a few more. I've just been very, very busy planning this trip. I've had a weekend away with my grandson, and that took a week to recover from. 8-year-old and a 70-year-old, boy oh boy do I know the difference in age. Righto, cheers for me guys, and have fun. See you out there.